Hi, I'm Marquette Redham.
My turn. I'm, I'm Paul Redham.
And this is episode 4 of Calls with Paul. And today we're going to have a little fun because we are busting the myths about the Austin real estate market. You ready to bust some myths?
As long as
Bust some myths? That's hard to say.
As long as you don't bust me with your fists.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll try. You guys check in with me real quick. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear and if the audio is okay. Which is making me remember, Sarah, are we on Wi-Fi for Paul's phone and not the LTE? Let me check.
And if I get a call, do I take it live?
That'd
be fun.
We fixed that problem. We shut down your phone line. So very cool. Again, thumbs up if you guys can hear us. We appreciate it. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So let's talk about some of the common myths. Maybe, I know there's a bunch, but let's cover like 5. And it's been interesting to me being married to you, and I've kind of learned a lot just riding around in the car with you and hanging out. But some of these myths I actually believed once upon a time. Yeah. And I know you're going to be tempted to say true or false, but you gotta elaborate here.
I have to go beyond.
You do.
True.
So myth number 1, is this a myth or not? The best time to sell your house is in the summer.
That is a myth, at least here in Austin, Texas. So when I got into the business in the 90s, most people did sell in the summer. That was true then because, families were moving and like all that made sense. So families would move because school was out and all that made sense. I don't know why, but over the last, 15 years or so, it's really shifted more and more into spring. I think a lot of families want to come in and get their homes ready. And also a lot of people leave town in the summertime. So people who are living here, I think, in Austin certainly want to get it out of the way. People who are relocating, they probably do a little bit in summer, but not much.
So now the best time to sell is?
The best time to sell, we've been coaching for the last several years, is really to go the last week of February. This year we've been pushing people out a little bit earlier because rates have been low. It changes a little bit every year. I was a little nervous when we started pushing people out early, but it seems to really work.
Cool. All right. So false. The best time to sell your home is not the summer in Austin. The best time to sell your home is the spring.
That's right. That was false.
Right. Number 1.
Yeah.
Let's look at number 2. Myth number 2. Or is it a myth?
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
You have to put 20% down to buy a home.
No. You don't have to put 20% down.
I thought that was true for the longest time. That's why I waited so long. It wasn't until I met you that I bought a home because I thought I had to keep just saving and saving forever on my fledgling lawyer salary.
No, you could put as little as 3.5% down. We're even seeing some 0% downs, and even like with doctors, like when we closed, a few months ago. I don't remember when Nate closed, but he put nothing down. And that was
what?
Yeah.
I thought those days were over.
Well, if you're a doctor, you get special programs.
Or maybe just because you're Nate.
Yeah, or because you're Nate. Maybe Kate pulled strings.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, are the qualification levels different for those kinds of programs? If I'm starting out, how do I even figure out if one of those I'm eligible for something lower than 20%?
Well, sure. The best thing to do is to talk to a good, high quality lender. But generally, I'm just going to spitball here. A lot of people, if their loan is low enough and they qualify for FHA, they can get away with 3.5% down. There's conventional products that do that also, and there's a lot of 5% and 10% down. It really depends on the big thing when I have these conversations in the car with people. There seem to be 2 kinds of folks. There are people who really want to pay off their house, and they want to put 20% down,
sure,
and then get closer and closer to paying it off. And then there's other folks like me who want to put as little money down as they can, and finance as much as possible using other people's money to leverage into a market and not have to put a bunch of cash out there.
So I guess it depends on your personal finance philosophy.
It does, and your personal finance capabilities. I'd rather somebody get into a home with 3.5% or 5% down rather than skip it for 10 years.
Yeah, especially if it being such a big investment, wealth building vehicle. So, in fact, Sarah, will you come over here and say hi? We always mention Sarah's name, and you've never gotten to meet her, but Sarah is our creative marketing assistant. Say hello.
Hi, nice to see y'all.
And
Hi,
she
Sarah.
helps manage all the tech behind the scenes. So thank you for making us run so smoothly.
Of course.
Cool. Our third myth, Paul, is going to require some explanation, I think.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So when you're going to sell your home, there are different kinds of showing options, right?
Right.
There's just go, which means what?
Go.
It means what to the layman? It means you can just go. You don't have to call first. You don't have to have an appointment. You can just show up.
Right. You don't have to put it on your calendar. You can just it's probably a vacant home, but you got to be careful. Like we have one client right now that changes their status from time to time because they're coming in and out of town. And when they're in town, we set it for call first and go. And then when they're gone, we set it for go. But
so explain what call first and go is.
Okay, so
what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean it's all pretty self-explanatory. A lot of people get tricked up on it, oddly, trying to make things more complicated. But it's really call first and then go over if you don't get a call back.
And then there's appointment with.
There's an appointment with agent. There's an appointment with occupant, which sounds eerily like what it is. You got to set an appointment.
So if you're selling your house, you can either have it set to go, so anybody can show up at any time.
Right.
Call first and go, meaning they have to reach out before they come show up.
Well, the client doesn't. The agent does that.
Or an appointment with occupant or an appointment with the agent.
Right.
So here's my question with that lead up.
I thought that was the whole thing.
My question is, if my house is set as I'm selling and I've got it set as a call first and go, it's really important for me as the homeowner to schedule those appointments and kind of navigate all that to make sure, I end up being the one that sets appointments so people don't show up at my house at one time. Is that true or false?
That is, well, for me, that's false. For some agents, they really want, all the showings to happen separately. I'm of the belief that buyers buy because they have fear of missing out. FOMO. That's a new word for me. I used to call it fear of loss. Help me if I get confused and I call it fear of loss. Help me out. But I think people seeing other people creates fear of missing out. And
so you don't have to be an air traffic controller.
No, let them all come at the same time. I'm okay with people waiting to get to see your house. I'm okay with a line happening outside the door. And that's one of the reasons why we like to do open houses and really attract a lot of people is so that people see other people very interested.
Well, I know that happens to me if I'm shopping and I see someone near an item of clothing I was kind of interested in. Yeah. All of a sudden I want it a lot more.
Do you tackle them and take their clothes away? Because that's what's going on in my head.
I've yet to do that. But yeah, so I guess you're creating a little bit more of a buzz and helping people see that there's an interest.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, myth number 4.
Okay, I'm ready.
True or false? A new property is a much better idea than an older home.
For me, that's false, and the biggest reason for that is all I really care about for our clients is resale value and what happens to them going down the road. New homes can be great, but usually there's about 1,000 people installing 10,000 parts in a home, and the idea that things are going to just go perfectly with that, I think, is a little bit naive. It's an easy one to make. I kind of thought that when we first got into the business, but when people buy a new home, a lot of times there's a lot of issues. And then the next thing is, unless you're going to stay for a very long time and you're really committed to that, I don't ever want our clients competing with new construction.
So like those new developments where you're the first one in and they're going to be adding other stages. Yeah. Not a good idea.
Or when you're out far enough into the suburbs where new developments will just start creeping up over and over again.
Why do you not like that?
Because nobody really ever knows exactly when they're going to sell, and like when you go to sell, I don't want you competing with new homes. They have margin in them, meaning they have more room that they can move in their price than you might.
Well, in the new developments, if I bought my house 5 years ago and someone can either buy my house or they can buy a brand spanking new one where they get to pick their own tile and flooring and stuff. I know what I'd choose.
People definitely gravitate towards new. There's a real feeling that that's better than the slightly older ones. I argue just the just the opposite. The older ones a lot of times will come with sprinkler systems, saw it in the backyard that maybe some of the other ones don't. There's a lot of good reasons to go out and not buy new, but gently resold if you or gently used, like 2 or 3 years old, because it's worked out all of its kinks.
Let's talk a little bit, dig into that more, because in Central Austin, we're seeing a lot of established neighborhoods where builders are coming in and they're knocking down cute cottages and bungalows, showing my bias here, and building larger farmhouse style homes or modern contemporary homes. And, if I'm looking in Central Austin, I would imagine there's some style preference, right? Like,
Sure.
what do I like just aesthetically? And personally, I like homes with soul and character. And I think that, we saw a really cool property yesterday in Pemberton that was a historic home, and it wasn't perfect, and parts of it were certainly dated and needed to be updated, but the construction today, you just don't find materials in some of the newer homes like you do in those older properties. Just beautiful moldings and just really high quality wood and long leaf floors and just really gorgeous materials.
Yeah, we don't build them like we used to. But the new construction in Central Austin, I worry about the 10,000 parts and 1,000 people installing them, but I worry less about the new development coming around. So that's at least an improvement from being further out. Plus the underlying values in the land, and the closer in you get, the more valuable your property tends to be.
So the bottom line is, I guess, new properties aren't necessarily better.
No.
Okay.
No, not in my opinion. I mean, they might be better for a person in their life experience. I think like everybody, we haven't done it before, but I think everybody kind of wants to have that new home experience, just like buying a new car. I think that's good stuff, but economically and fiscally, it doesn't compute, in my opinion.
Okay, well, let's move on to myth number 5. We're getting the weeds here. We're going to talk about taxes. Let's bust some taxes.
Oh, man. Oh, Texas.
Yeah. Property taxes. Property taxes are based on my purchase price, right?
No, false.
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 You want to elaborate on that?
Did we do a true false on that last one?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You want to elaborate on false?
Yeah, sure. So property taxes are not necessary, at least in Texas. So in other states, the county has a right to know, or the taxing entity has a right to know what you paid for your house. In Texas, that's not the case. The county has no right to know. And the way that the county assesses taxes is with what's called a shotgun appraisal. So you'll see on your bill that there's this appraised value. Well, that's coming from the appraisal district, and they're using a shotgun value. They don't come out to every home to figure out like what it's really worth. They estimate, well, homes in this area are selling for this much, the land's worth this, and the property's worth that. And of course, they don't ever see it, so there's no telling what they're getting.
They're not coming out and walking the house and looking at it.
No, they're just assigning stuff. And what I was told 20 whatever years ago when I was in real estate school was that the thought process behind the way they do this is that they're going to tax you, and if it's too high, you'll come in and protest. Well, the truth is, not everybody can protest, and not everybody, especially new folks coming into town, know that they can protest, or that there's a service, a wonderful, and if you want more information about it, I'm happy to share with you, a service that will help you protest those taxes.
Thank God for Protax.
Yeah. We don't have to, like I used to go do that stuff on like every year, and that was a real hassle, but now.
There's services. They take a little bit of cut of what they reduce, but it does end up saving in the long run.
Yeah, it's really wonderful.
All right, so it's not based on my purchase price. It's based on the whims of the county.
Well, I think somebody at the county has a membership at the Board of Realtors, and they try to figure it all out. So some homes end up getting revalued when one group moves out and before another moves in, and that January 1st deadline comes around. But some get it and some don't. So all that to say, he who protests the most has the least taxes and the lower values, but that doesn't have anything to do with actual market value. We end up explaining that a lot of times to new people coming into town, and it's confusing because in other places the taxable value is pretty dead on. And I think it should be that way here in Texas. Just more transparency, everybody paying their fair share, whether they protest it or not. Of course, tax rates would go down, but the government would get the same money, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's do a bonus one. Do you have time for a bonus one?
I have time for anything you wish.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Fact or fiction?
myth busting.
I should do my own property search online and then just send you a list of things I want you to go show me. True or false? Fact or fiction?
Both. I think you should do some of your searching online, and I think you should send it to me, and that should be open for discussion. And you should get to hear like what the opinion is about that. Like, this is a great neighborhood with great schools, just like you asked for, and that's not so much, or whatever. But of course, we're happy to show you any property you wish if you're a qualified buyer. So I think you should do some of your own looking, especially if it's not us doing it for you.
But also, I think you have access to things that they're not going to find online. I mean,
We do.
at Compass, for example, we have access to coming soon listings exclusively by all of our Austin Compass agents that are not on the MLS, and they're not on sites like Zillow or Julia or any of those other search sites. Plus, there's off-market properties that are being privately listed. And so I think for me, sure, do your home search online, but you're going to have a wealth of knowledge that you're able to bring to the table.
Absolutely.
About properties they may not see. And not only that, you know of things that might have gone off the market recently, that it might be worth reaching back out to that agent to see if they'd be willing to entertain an offer. I mean, I think people underestimate the experience and the value that a realtor can bring to the equation, and that markets and what things have, what they've sold for, what's moving, what's not. I just think they've got to rely. I mean, there's a benefit. That's what you do, is you brings your experience to the table.
Yeah, we've placed people in homes that had been withdrawn from the market, and we get them back out there. And certainly coming soon, what we're doing at Compass is really quite powerful with the website. Everybody should go really view that if they're on the hunt for homes at compass.com. And
Search for the Austin region.
yeah, well, like it'll recognize where you're at, so it should automatically do that.
Cool. Well, that's it. Those are some. I'm gonna.
Oh no! Don't do that, babe.
So those are a few Austin real estate myths. Do you have any questions or myths that you want to have busted? Drop them in the comments below, or if you'd rather have a one-on-one conversation, you can reach out to Paul directly after this, and we're always happy to visit with you guys. But that's a wrap on episode 4.
Episode 4.
All right, thanks
Soon
for
we're
tuning
gonna
in.
have to use all of one hand, and then we'll move to the next.
I know I'm worried about keeping track, honestly. All right, but signing off, you guys.
All right. Bye.